Hello friends, today in this tutorial I will be showing you that how to store the login and the registration information inside the local storage inside JavaScript. So basically all of you know that local storage simply means that you need to store information inside temporarily. We are not storing information inside the database. Local storage is the concept of storing information inside the browser for a particular session. So basically if you just search here local storage and in JavaScript. Basically, it's a web API which is offered for every browser such as Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Opera, Safari. All these browser implement this web storage API which is called as local storage. And after that, local storage, we also have session storage. But in this tutorial, we will be talking about local storage. Local storage is the concept of storing the any sort of items. You can store it. You can store text values, string values. You can even store arrays. You can even store objects as well. So you can, there are two methods out there. In order to set a item, we use the set item method. In order to get the item, we use the get item. So in order to remove it, we use the remove item. And in order to clear out the local storage, we have this clear method. So these are the four methods which primarily uh, implements these local storage inside the browser. So we will have a simple form of form and login, registration and login, and we will be able to implement this local storage web storage API inside JavaScript. If you're joining it for the very first time, then please hit the like button. So basically now we will have a simple form and login registration form. So here we will be storing all the details of the user inside the session using local storage web storage API. So here we will have a simple form here. So we have the form here. We don't need the action attribute. So you can see that we will inside this form we will have two input fields of this will be for username, and we will be giving it the ID of username, and it should be required, and placeholder enter your username. So after that guys, we will have a another input field of this time password, and this time we will be having password here. This is also required. So you can see that these are two input fields out there inside our form. If I open this, you will see that enter your username, enter your password. So basically we can even have a placeholder for this also. So if I refresh it now, you will now see. So now we simply need a simple button guys to submit this form. So we will have a submit button to log in. So basically we have this login button here. This is a login button. You will now see. So whenever we submit this, we need to fill out this field. So we can now have our custom JavaScript here. So here guys, what we need to do is that, so whenever we need to get this reference to the form, document dot get element by ID form. So we need to give it a ID of form here. So after giving it the ID guys, now we can simply attach an event listener to it of submit. So when the form submits, basically what we need to do is that we need to fetch all the values. So we will get the name, document dot get element by ID, which is name, sorry, username. To get the value, we will use dot value. So this is actually username, and then we will get the password. So let password document dot query, sorry, get element by ID password dot value. So now guys, after getting all these two values, now we can store these values inside local storage. So that's the most important thing, local storage, local storage. So now to save these values guys, it is very simple. We will be storing these values inside local storage. So now to local storage, we will call this method which is set item, And here we will be having the username, which is present inside the username variable. And then we will have the local storage set item for the password. This is for the password. You can see that. So now you can see that, guys, we are storing it inside this local storage. We are setting the item. Basically, this is the key parameter, username. You can change it to anything, and this is a value, key value pair. Similarly goes for password, and this is a value. So now basically what we can do is that after setting it, we can simply alert the user, your details are saved in local storage. So basically, now if you now refresh your browser, if you type any username here, password, you will see your details are saved in local storage. So now to retrieve these details, guys, inside from the local storage, if you know local storage is nothing but it is a part of the browser. If you right click inspect element, and here you need to go to if you see, go to the application, and here you will see the local storage. This is the local storage which is you can see username, password. You can see the key value pairs which are saved inside the browser itself. This is the local storage that we are saving here, username, password. So this exactly is the my point, guys. So now to retrieve these details, it is very easy. After this, we can retrieve these details. So in this case, guys, basically if you just write anything here, first of all, you also need to e.prevent default. This is the most, just call this function. So this will prevent the auto submission of the form. Basically now, if you write something here, click login. After that, if you refresh the page, all these details will be gone. But in our case, we need to preserve these details. We need to get these details from local storage that we have saved here. You can see that. So now here we can simply get the details. So we will have a if condition that if local storage dot get item username, and also local storage dot get item password. So basically here we are just checking inside this if condition that if all these details are present inside local storage, then we need to display those details. So we will simply say document dot get element by id username, and the value will be equal to local storage dot get item username, and similarly for password as well, dot value. So we will simply say that local storage dot get item get password. So basically now what it will do is that basically if it is checking, it will page loads for the very first time, or you are keep on reloading the page, it will check inside this if condition that if already the local storage details are present, then it will set these details inside username and password field. So now what will happen, guys, you will see that if you keep, you can see if I refresh this page here, automatically the previous old details are preserved. Something it is giving the concept of database. So if you have saved previously these details inside a MySQL database, so basically whatever you change this value, let's suppose I change it to Kane Williamson, and let me change the password to 123456. Click on login. You can see your details are saved in local storage. And now basically if you refresh your page, some questions are there. Do you work full time? Yeah, I am a full time blogger and YouTuber. Please hit the like button, subscribe the channel as well. So now basically if you refresh your page, guys, now these details will be preserved. You can see Kane Williamson and 123456. Just right click inspect element, and you will now see the details which are there inside your application. You will see local storage, and this is your username which is updated. If I change this username to anything, also change the password. So if you refresh, you can see that those details will be updated inside username and password fields. So this is all happening because guys we are implementing it inside local storage. So they don't have an expiry date, so they will not expire. It is all due to the session. Basically, if you close this window, these local storage values will be gone. If you close the browser, so that's the important thing. In session storage, you can give a expiry date, but in local storage, you can't give expiry date. You need to call a method which is called as, I think it is called as local storage.clear. So basically, it will clear out all the history. You can see this is the explicit method which is given to clear out all the history of local storage. So now if I call this method here, right here, local storage.clear, let me bind it to a button basically. Uh, Clear history. So basically we can have a ID of clear. So whenever we click this button, so basically what will happen, clear. So whenever we can add an event listener to it, when we click this button, basically we need to remove all the history of local storage. So there is a method here which is local storage.clear. Simply call this method. So now what will happen guys, you will now see, uh, if I see here, so basically, so if I write something here, if I have the password, click on login, your details saved in local storage. If I click this button, clear history, your, if I again refresh it, you can see that local storage dot clear. This is the button here, you can see that set item, local storage set item, storage item, remove item. Oh, you can just remove explicit item guys by using this remove item as well. So basically the set item will set the item, get item will get the item, and also I think that we need to remove it using like this remove item username and remove item password like this. Explicitly we need to use this method. How many experience you have? I have almost 4 to 5 years of experience while just doing YouTube blogging and also in programming also 4 to 5 years of experience. So that's why I'm a very experienced programmer. So I enjoy being programming daily. So basically now you can see that guys, if you click clear history, 4 people are watching the stream guys. So please hit the like button, subscribe the channel. Let me just remove it this and bind it in a different. So when you click the login button guys, that's why you can see document dot get element by ID, but login, add event listener. So when we click this button of login, because as you see guys, there were 2 buttons inside the form element, so you can't have 2 buttons inside the form element. That's why it was creating that problem. So now there are 2 separate buttons, which is login and clear. So one button will be setting the items inside local storage, and the second button will clear the items. So if I click login, your details are saved. If I clear history and refresh it, you can see all the details stored inside local storage are gone. You can remove these details like this by using remove item, or you can also instantly delete using the clear function as well. So that's it. So basically now, why it is if I see here, click, your details are saved. Clear history, refresh, you can see all the details are gone. Again, do this process, login, and if I refresh the page, these details will be preserved. You can see that. So we are storing these details in a, these are text values, username, password. So now the next thing guys comes in, you can even store it in a as a object. So let's suppose you don't need to, you need to create an object of these two values. So we can create an object. So we can have username will be equal to username and password will be equal to password. So this is an object here, or you can simply say user object, which contains two details, username, password. Instead of storing it as a two values, we can say local storage dot set item, and I think we can set it user, and then we need to convert this object, which is you can use it JSON stringify, and then we can pass this object. So basically what it will do is that it will convert this object to a string value using JSON.stringify. So it's a JSON object and it will convert it to a string. So we can also console log JSON stringify user. So now basically what it will do is that if you see here, if you just right click inspect element, go to console, so basically if you type the username and password, click on login. So you can see in the right hand side it has converted this to a string object. You can see that this JSON is converted to a string. So after this guys, what we need to do is that we need to get these items, get this object when we load the page. So now if I load this page here, I don't get the details back. If I reload this, the details are gone. So now to retrieving these details, again we will have a simple if condition. We will check if local storage dot get item. Uh, we have given the key here which is called as user. So we will say user, and if it is present, we need to parse it to JSON object. So now to parse it, we will again use a new method which is JSON dot parse, and then we will say local storage dot get item user. That's it. So basically, these are the two methods, guys, which are widely used. This converts the JSON object to a string, which is JSON stringify, and this converts the string to a JSON object, which is JSON.parse. So we are making use of these two methods, and now we can simply display document.get element by ID username.value. So this is equal to object dot so username. So inside this object, you will see there are two properties, username, password. Similarly, we can have the password value as well. So in this way, guys, you can store a object inside local storage. It is totally possible to store string values, object, arrays, anything you can store it depending upon your application. So if I now save something here, click login and refresh the page, you will now see as I refreshing the page here, all the previous values are present here. It is not gone. So this is a great alternative if you don't want to use MySQL database or any sort of database inside your application. You can use local storage, which is a web storage API for JavaScript for storing your information for temporary purpose. So you will save a lot of hassle without having to interact with database. So it's a great opportunity to use local storage. And now we will store array of objects. So let's suppose we have to store multiple objects and display it inside a table. So we will have a table, we will have name, username and password. username and password. So as I click the login button, we will insert the details inside this table. So basically inside table body, we will give it a ID of result. So now inside this, we will also need to include jQuery for just inserting the details in the DOM. So we can simply search for jQuery CDN and you will find out the jQuery CDN here. Simply paste the CDN here. So right here guys, we have given a table. You will see that inside this table we have got two fields out there, which is username, password. It's a very simple table. And instead of login here, we will simply say that insert details. So basically there is the insert details button. So you need to provide the username, password of the user. So basically what it now happen guys, we need to create a button here which is users, which will be a empty array by default. This will contain an array of objects. Each object will be having two properties, username, password. We will put a comma, we will put another, like this. This is how structure will be. So this is slightly complicated in order to store array of objects inside local storage. So I will show you how to do this. Please hit the like button guys if you're watching it for the very first time. 4 people are watching. So now the task is little more complicated. We will again construct this as same here, user, username, password. This time we need to convert this to a user like this. So this is array of object here, and yeah, if you see here, what we need to do is that we can console log json.parse local storage.get item user. If it is not present, then we will get empty array. So here we can simply console log the users array here. Let me say users array. So if I click inspect element, go to console, you will now see there is an object here which is password username index 74. If I console log the typo here, type of, so what is the data type? Either it's an object or array. Let me see. So you can see that, guys, it is an object. It is not an array. So that's the problem, guys. It's an array. It's so what we need to do is that it's a set item. We need to store array of objects. I found on internet there is no certain solution available, but I will do this inside this live stream. So I need to just if you have any sort of solution, you can also comment here, because I don't think so how to implement this, but I'm just thinking. uh, we have got the username, password, we have constructed this object JSON. Oh, sorry, this is our users here. So what we need to do is that we need to first of all push it. So we will say users dot push this user, and then we will JSON dot stringify this users like this. So that was my mistake. You can see this we have declared at the very top. This is a users array which is currently empty. We create this object, we push it inside this array here, which is users. There is a push method which pushes the entry inside an array. So we push this entry inside this array, and then we are setting this inside local storage. We are using json.stringify, and then we are passing this as this array which is users. So it will convert this to a string, this array to a string, which is json.stringify. So this array contains a JSON object, so array of JSON object. That's why we are using JSON.stringify. And now again, when we load the page, we will once again have a if condition. We will check if the previous data is present. We will say local storage dot get item user. Sorry, this is user. We will again use the JSON.parse method, local storage dot get item user. If no information is present, then we will get an empty array. We will console log the typo. Let me just see, guys, what is having this. So let me see here. Let me type the username and the password, insert details. So now, guys, you will see that it is again an object. Users dot push JSON.parse local storage dot get item user. Let me again refresh it. Insert details. So now you can see that, guys, it's an array of objects. You can see there is square brackets. So it contains an array of objects. So I think we don't need to wrap it inside JSON.parse. We can simply get its value like this. And now if you see the typo, so now it's a string. So we can simply say here JSON.parse. So there will be a first object. So how to retrieve it? It's the biggest problem here, which is how to retrieve this array of objects. We are setting, it is fine here. We are pushing it to the user. So I have just Googled this question, which is storing array of objects in local storage, but I don't get a concrete answer in Stack Overflow also. You can see that local storage save data JSON strings. So first of all, we need to convert the object to JSON strings. So we have done this, and then we need to JSON.parse local storage dot get item save data. So here we can use the for each loop, guys. So for each user we can have the response here. We can have a table row tag. This is a template string that you see all over user dot username, and So this is very easy. We can append this to the result div here. The thing is that we need to get the values in local storage, this array of objects. If I do like this, insert details, you will now see it will get added here automatically. So for this, it is very simple. We need to, when we click this, we need to empty out the previous content like this. So just call this at the very top. Let me just delete this alert statement which is there. So we need to, if I refresh it, we need to get these values. You can see that all the values are gone. That's the problem here. So we need to store these values inside local storage, but these array of objects are not storing it. So how to store array inside local storage? That's the basic problem. So if you have any sort of doubt, guys, you can ask in the comment section. By Rust API video compression bana do please. Yeah, definitely I will be doing it monster flick. I have that live stream in mind. So whenever I get the time, I will definitely make that video. First of all, FFmpeg video compression, then I will convert this to an API so that you can use it as an API. So with authentication, we will provide a API key, all those routes like that. So now the thing, guys, we need to have to how to store data, store array in local storage. That's the problem. We have looked at objects, we have looked at strings, but we need to store an array. How to do it? So you can see that set items, get items. You can also use direct access. It is very much, I think, how to do this array of objects. They have shown the same approach here. You need to stringify the array here, but they haven't shown the array of objects. This I can store it. This is very simple. But how to store a object inside an array? That's the problem. You can see this is an object. To save this object to the local storage, first of all, we need to convert the John object into a JSON string. For that, we need to use the JSON.stringify method and pass an object as an argument to this method. Yeah, we have done that. We have converted this object to a JSON.stringify. I think, yeah, it's an object. So, so we need to JSON.stringify John, and then we need to set local storage.set item John JSON object. So arrays too. So JSON stringify array, how to save यार, array of objects, store array of objects, just GitHub. Yeah, that's the thing I want to do. Yeah, this is the local storage task. So basically you can see that guys, we are, so here they are using the for loop. So let me also use like this. So here we can simply say that users array dot username, can console log. If I see here, so it is index.html. Oh, I think it is now doing its job. It is now really looking good, guys. You can see that. Uh, so now we are retrieving it. So the thing was, we need to use the for loop instead of for each. So now what we can do is that we can loop through it, and basically we can have document, sorry, we can construct a response object plus is equal to uh, so here we can simply say that tr close tr and td. So here we can simply say that users array dot I dot username, and for the second td we will have users array I dot password, and lastly we need to append this, so we will simply say uh, result append response. That's it. Now if I see, guys, if I refresh this now, you will now see automatically the previous details are being stored here. You will see that username, password. If I refresh here, if I want to add one more entry here, so now the thing, guys, we need to do is that we need to obviously check whenever we are clicking inserting a new detail, clicking this insert detail button here. We need to, inside this condition also, we need to check that if it is already present, basically at this moment of time, if the local storage is already present, then we need to display it. First of all, what we need to do, we need to push this inside this users array, which is push it this object user, and then do it. And if it is not present, then we can, inside our else block here, we can execute this code. So you can see that we are setting it to the local storage user json.stringify users. First of all, we also users.push user. That's it. So now the thing is, I think, complete. If you add something, it get added. So what is the, so I think here also we need to do the same thing. We need to pre, uh, remove the previous entries result.empty. Just call this, I think. So that is all the application, guys, we have built of local storage. Hopefully you will like it. कब तक बना दोगे भाई? I will make sure that I took some time, 2-3 days wait, and definitely I will make those application. So don't worry, and keep watching these videos, guys. I will be seeing you in the next live stream.